Welcome to Vincent Crowley Music. I have a very special guest today, the madman from Mordant Red. If you've seen the Mordant Red channel, you know about him and his band of maniacs. I first discovered the channel when I was first starting to get more active with my channel. I started like in the morning when I do my workout, I put my TV on and hit YouTube metal stuff. And I was watching Justin Horville's J Dog's channel. And after that, this crazed mass lunatic came on and screaming and this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, I have to watch this shit. So I was very pleased. I became a regular watcher. We came in contact, did some collaborations together. Both fans of each other's band, and I'm very pleased to welcome the madman from Mordant Red. How you doing, brother?
Hey, yeah, man. Hey, glad to be on here. I know we had a good time on the other collaboration we did before, and it was a good conversation. And plus, it worked out really well for me because I was a fan of Acheron since Rise of the Black Mass when it first came out. So it was a very cool thing for me to collaborate with you and talk about some shit. So yeah, glad to fucking be here. Glad you like the goddamn channel.
Well, let's give these people a little taste of what Mordant Red's all about. So we're going to play a little clip right now.
And fuck, that metal should be evil as fuck. It should be about killing and molesting and mutilation, not this fucking happy bullshit.
Okay, first off, I want to ask the name question because I know on the band sites you go by a name and it's not Mordant Red, but everybody knows you as Mordant Red. What's your thoughts on that? And do you still go by your previous name or are you just going by Mordant Red now?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because yeah, Mordant Red is just the name of the band, and then I have the pseudonym of Revok Vermithrax, some fucking retarded ass name. And what that name is, we've talked about. We like a lot of '80s movies and stuff.
Dragon
so that
Slayer,
name,
right?
yes,
Yep.
absolutely, it is. It's a combination of Scanners, David Cronenberg's, which if anybody's seen that movie, Michael Ironside's character Revok, Daryl Revok.
Yes.
Then I spelled it a little bit different. And then Vermithrax is the name of that dragon on Dragon Slayer, 1981 or 82, whatever it was. The only Disney movie that has full male frontal nudity.
You never see that again.
Yeah, no. But yeah, as far as that, Revok Vermithrax, that's the pseudonym, and it's Mordant Red is the band. But a lot of people refer to me, yeah, Mordant. I don't know. It's not like a egotistical thing because Mordant Red is all of us put together, making this. It's not just me, so that's why I don't want to just go by that name. But it's almost kind of like how Alice Cooper, when they started out, it was Alice Cooper Band, and then Vincent, whatever the fuck his real name is, he became Alice Cooper. They started referring to him. So I mean, it's kind of like that, but it's still Mordant Red is not like my solo band. It's everybody in the band and everybody's input. But it's funny, a lot of people do refer to me as that. Whatever, long as people remember, because Mordant Red is probably easier to remember than Revok Vermithrax.
Right, but see, that's good to clear up, and people need to know that to get that information. Yeah. So let's start with what first got you into music in general. Like for me, I'm older than you, so bands like Black Sabbath and Alice Cooper and AC/DC and Kiss and Led Zeppelin, those kind of were the bands that kind of lured me in. What were the bands that lured you in?
Pretty much the same. It was my dad, because my dad was really into music. He played guitar, and he had this Black Sabbath Paranoid 8-track, and listened to that, and I got into it from there. And then this was around 82. He would always record Friday night videos on the VHS, and I saw a lot of shit on there. Grim Reaper, I guess it was 82, 83. I remember seeing a Grim Reaper video, Ozzy Osbourne, Bark at the Moon. Also, Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil. My dad bought that LP, and it was just, I think we even talked about this before. It was so just incredible to me back then. That, and then Kiss, of course, too. I watched Kiss Phantom of the Park, that bullshit movie, which I really liked back then. And then the first record I actually got, I remember my grandmother took me to the store, and they had the whole setup of the records. They had a big section for the Kiss solo albums. And this is when they were new, so this was 1978. So I was really young then. She said, pick out whatever one you want. And my dumbass picked out the worst one, Peter Criss's solo album, which is fucking horrible. I wish I would have got Ace Frehley's, but, you know, then after that, I got Quiet Riot, Mental Health, and shit just went downhill from there.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I remember when the 80s was, you know, starting, and, you know, all those bands I started out with, you know, the Motley Crues, the Wasp, you know,
Yes,
even,
Wasp.
you know, those bands were starting to get big, and I love those bands. I mean, shot like you, the first two Motley Crue albums I like a lot. I really not too much of a fan of their later stuff. Here and there, there's some good stuff, but I wasn't really a big fan after that. But the first two are awesome. Wasp, I'm still a fan of Wasp. I think Blackie Lawson is a great songwriter. Unfortunately, he went down the whole religious path, I guess. But you know, you can still find some gems in there that don't, you know, proselytize to everybody. And it was funny because when that started, I remember, you know, you have the old Kiss belt buckles and stuff, and they're why are you wearing that shit? That shit's for kids. And it's just funny how things advanced. And then we went to the beginning of the underground. And that's when Venom and Bathory and Celtic Frost and I mean, you name it, that they were come Manowar. Those bands came out, Slayer, Merciful Fate. That took music to a whole different level, and it definitely wasn't as accepted as like the Motley Crues or the Wasp or bands in that nature, which took it to a new level. Do you remember when you first heard those type of bands?
Yeah, actually, now referring back to Wasp, now I first heard Wasp, ironically, was on, I think it was 1985, the movie called Dungeon Master. And it's like a series of little short anthology kind of shit, but it's all fantasy. And it had Richard Mall on there, and the guy from Metal Storm, I forget his name, Jeffrey Byron, Tim Thomerson. Wait, am I getting mixed up? Maybe Tim Thomerson wasn't on Dungeon Master. Anyway, there was a section where he goes into a Wasp concert. He's fighting them with lasers and shit. So I heard Wasp from there. And then I think when I was in sixth grade or so, people were talking about Slayer, and this was 85 or 86. Somebody's brother obviously listened to it and was telling me about it. Thought Slayer had some scary shit. And then it was just a progression, and getting into Metallica and all that shit, and also getting into punk, because I was really into thrash metal and punk rock early on, and then I discovered the heavier shit, Venom and Bathory and all that shit, which when I found Bathory, that was a important moment for sure, because few bands I listened to for the first time had such an impact, and Bathory. And then when I first heard Burzum, it really caught my attention in a not the same way, but it just stood out, made me feel like killing myself or something.
Yeah, the music, especially back in those days, when you first, Eve, I remember when a friend of mine picked up Venom's At War with Satan, and he got the vinyl, and he recorded it on a tape, and we were playing it in my car one day, just, you know, cruising around, and it's like my jaw dropped. I was like, wow, because, you know, I had always been a Motorhead fan, and that's another band that really influenced me starting out. And
Yeah, yeah,
it was like the next level. And not only did it have the aggression of Motorhead, but it had the dark topics that I really liked and wanted to hear. And from then on, and Celtic Frost and Merciful Fate, it had a vibe back then where I don't know if you know, like now it's everything's in a category. They did have like speed metal and whatever back to heavy metal and stuff, but
yeah,
you could listen to Destruction, you could listen to Slayer, you could listen to Manowar, you could listen to Nasty Savage, you could listen to Venom, and it wasn't like their own little camp. You know what I mean? Now everybody's like segregated into their own little scene, which is kind of weird.
yeah, yeah. It's funny, it is, because early on, like looking around 1991, like Blasphemy, when I first heard them, I fucking
Yes.
loved it. And I just thought, okay, it's a black metal band. Now they're called war metal and all this other weird shit categorized. Back then it was black metal, and listen to it, even early Destruction, that kind of walked the lines of black metal and early
Yeah.
Creator. And it's funny too, because my progression was listen to hardcore punk and then thrash metal, just the more mainstream stuff, the big four and all that crap. But then when I started discovering uh, Creator and stuff like that, like this is what I wanted to hear, because I always liked Anthrax and stuff, but I always thought that the vocals just seemed kind of weak. I mean,
I
don't
agree.
get me wrong, I like those kind of vocals, but back then I was wanting more. And then when I heard Creator and then heard Sepultura, and then from there I started discovering death metal, that's just like the regular thrash metal was pussy shit.
Yeah.
Back then, that's what I thought.
Well, it's like, especially back in the mid 80s, you could have it when you're talking about punk and hardcore, you could see metal bands playing with those type of bands.
Yeah,
A lot of the metal bands were influenced by stuff. I love the Sex Pistols, the Stooges,
yeah,
Black Flag, Minor Threat, Dead Kennedys, the Accused. List goes on, and I never felt like I shouldn't listen to that because I'm into this type of music. And then when DRI came out, and then
yeah.
Slayer was really influenced by them too. You could feel the kinship between the two scenes, and I think that really is gone now. I mean, it seems like not too many people, unless you're old school, can like a punk band or a hardcore band and like the extreme metal anymore. So I don't know, what's your views on that?
Well, that is true. It's like all the people that I still talk to that are my age or late 40s, 50s. Everybody, and people in our band too, everybody likes black metal. Everybody likes death metal, thrash metal, power metal, uh,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's not like I never understood that kind of shit where somebody's like, "Oh man, I fucking love Cannibal Corpse," and man, fuck that negative approach shit. I'll say you listen to that. I could never understand that because I always liked it hand in hand, and that's why going back to was it 92 when Obituary did their Incomplete Control tour. There was them, Cannibal Corpse, Malevolent Creation, and Agnostic Front.
Right.
Man, it was just so good. It was one of the best shows I ever went to, and it was just all kinds of people. There was a few fights, but it wasn't anything too out of control, and it was just so good. And nobody thought, okay, we're gonna boo an Agnostic Front plays. We just want to listen to metal. No, people were fucking slamming their asses off during their set just as much as Cannibal Corpse, and
Right.
that's how I always saw it. I never understood how someone would say they don't like whatever, but I don't know. I like all kinds of shit, even like gothic and death rock shit, like uh, Bauhaus and 45 Grade. It's just whatever. If
Yeah.
it's dark and there's a dark side to it, I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way. It's like if it's good music, it's good music. And I think, at least I personally think, because I can't speak for everybody, it's this whole scene thing. And I understand there's a metal scene, but when it comes down to it, it's an individual thing. You know,
Yeah.
if I want to listen to the Cro-Mags, then listen to
Yeah.
some industrial like Velvet Acid Christ, or
Yeah.
listen to Typo Negative. It doesn't make you a poser. It doesn't make you. It's whatever you're in the mood for. I mean, I personally like outlaw country music. I mean,
Yeah.
and southern rock. Is that a no-no too? It's like, we still make music that's not friendly to everybody. And
Right.
so it's just like some of the name, some of the elitists out there and people uh acting like they're making rules for everything. Uh I just think that's limiting a person for their expanding of music.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people like to talk shit about Pantera, and I like Pantera. I don't give a fuck. I mean, do I think Pantera is just like fucking homeboy J Dog? What's heavier than Pantera? He always says that shit. No, they're not fucking. To me, they're a heavy metal band. There's shit way heavier, but I still like to listen to them. I mean, and people talk shit about that motherfucker. When I bought Lower Display of Power, I bought Graves' first album the same day. So I just tell them to go
Right.
fuck off because I like heavier shit. I like regular metal. I like fucking LA Guns. I don't give a shit. That's You're right. People that act like that are limiting themselves, and I feel like people acting like that are not true music fans. Are more scene stirrers, if you will. That's what I've found because I don't know. Everybody that I hang around with will hang out and play whatever. We'll be playing fucking Broken Bones one day and Discharge, and then we'll put on fucking Gonkulator and Blasphemy or some shit. It's just whatever, you know.
It's funny, speaking of J Dog, um, I got to meet him in person. We did an interview on his
Yeah, I
channel,
watched it. Yeah, I watched it.
and you know, at first, well, I'm not gonna lie, I even told him when I met him, I said, I first watched your channel, I was like, who the hell is this guy just talking all this shit? And then I really started watching and listening to how he says things, and he wasn't really saying anything too out of hand. I mean, he promoted what he liked. And he wasn't calling people posers just for liking that stuff. It was just the people that didn't look beyond the horizon too. And do we think the same about everything? No, but he's another person I think people misinterpret. And
Yeah.
he makes people think. And I think that's good. Because there are actual people out there, and him being from Cleveland, I know a lot of people from Cleveland. That's if it ain't from the '80s, it ain't good. Or I mean, I've heard people from there go, "Oh, that Asheron demo was good. After that, you lost it." I'm like, okay, but it is what it is, and people have their own likes and stuff. But I never hold against anybody what they like. I'm pretty open to people getting to know like our music and understanding it and maybe even enjoying it. In fact, I had a friend from work. He was into a lot of mainstream stuff, main metal, rap, and I turned him on to our music, and he really liked to start showing up to shows, starting to listen to other heavy stuff,
Oh,
and
cool.
that's what it's all about. It's like opening up the doorways to people to actually check out our stuff.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. I feel very open to music. Like before, I've talked about how I'm not a fan of rap, but if somebody likes it, that's fine. I don't give a shit, because I know a lot of people that are into fucking underground grindcore. They love Ulcerous Phlegm and shit like that, but then they like Ghetto Boys and shit too. Hey, if you like it, more power to you. I'm not gonna sit there, oh, that motherfucker listens to that shit and start crying. No,
Right, right. So
people. I'm sorry. Go on.
no, it was just it's funny because there's so many shit talkers out now, and it's like it's all behind the keyboards, it's all behind the writers, and there's always been like bullshit like that with reviewers or people like talking about bands that they don't like or whatever, and that's fine and stuff. But man, there's so many keyboard warriors out there that just they have nothing better to do in their life than just talk shit about fucking people.
Yeah, that goes across the board. It's if somebody sees a video and thinks and they want to comment and give their own opinion on it, that's fine. But when you just personally attack somebody for no reason, it's just I don't understand because I see YouTube videos all the time of like, look at this fucking idiot or this fucking person's making me sick. But for me to waste my time to comment and if I feel that much hatred towards somebody, I'd rather say it in their face versus just typing some shit. That's why I don't comment. And any time on our YouTube channel, if I'm talking shit, it's always a rebuttal to someone else. I'm not going to go onto somebody else's channel and just start talking shit about them, or they don't know fucking metal. That's their problem. You know, I'm not going to personally attack somebody for no reason. So I think you're right. You said keyboard warriors. People don't have any, they don't understand. You have issues. When you talk shit in the old days, you're going to get beat the fuck out of you at a show, you know. Now it's just like, just put your little account up and talking shit and stuff, which I'm not into that crap.
Right.
I got a problem with somebody, it's got to be in person, and let's take it one-on-one and whatever.
Yeah, at least with me, I like personally to promote things I like instead of the things I don't like, because why would I want to give time to shit I don't support or don't like? You know,
exactly. Because you're right.
It's just like, you know, when these people talk shit about you, you know, recent video I did, I was like, I don't give a fuck because you're still giving me airtime. So when you do talk shit about me, I'm still getting attention. So if you don't talk about me, no one's going to know. So
yeah,
it's like one of those things.
Yeah, I saw that on that video. They asked you about your good and bad reviews, your response to that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's funny, like even in the 80s, that satanic panic shit, when they kept promoting that and making it like it was a real threat, all that was a walking commercial for people to get into it. It's like the complete opposite of they're trying to put something away, but all it does is promote it and more people find out, like, well, this stuff looks fucked up, so I want to look more into it.
Well, one thing I like about your channel a lot is you love getting those bad comments. It's so hilarious.
Oh,
And you did an episode on that. And that's the way you should treat it. It's like, okay, thanks for some ammo for me to use on my channel.
yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, it's when you type a comment on a page or a video, you're helping the algorithms. You're basically helping the channel. So keep on talking shit. I don't get any offense to it. Somebody, even I can't remember if it was that Scott Burns video or the Martin Van Drunen video. One of the videos I just did, somebody commented, "Yeah, death metal is not even music. That's garbage." And I was like, "What? What is the why? Why are you even watching the video? I mean, if you hate death metal, I mean, it just makes no sense." And somebody else commented, "Yeah, this is pure poser shit." I just wrote back, said, "Man, thanks for the comment." And I don't know, it's just comical to me. But some of these trolls they call themselves trolls, are pretty comical. There was one guy, I forget his name. Me and him would just kept going back and forth, but I wasn't talking shit. I would just say absurd stuff back because I'm not going to sit there and talk crap I'm going to fight him because I'm not. I mean, unless he comes up to me in person and puts his hands on me, then yeah, we're going to have a problem. But just talking shit, it's all good fun, whatever.
Yeah, I agree. But like I said, I like the way you handled that. It's a man way to do it. It's someone steps in your space, you deal with them. That's just the way it is.
Absolutely. But the more people talk shit, the better. I don't care.
Right.
Whatever. And also, to your right, on the channel, I'm not going to talk about a band that I don't like. Like, what's the point of me talking a bunch of shit about somebody? Yeah, this band sucks, and these people look like idiots. I just have no point of doing that, because just because their music sucks and they may look like idiots, it's just maybe they're cool people. I don't know. I don't know them personally, so I'm not going to attack them like that.
Right. So onward, when after the first wave, I'd say, of underground came, bands, death metal, grindcore, black metal. When the 90s came in, even the late 80s, things started to get more serious. It's almost like bands wanted to not just up the past, but wanted to be more legit. And when they're doing stuff, when you saw Morbid Angel or Deicide or Napalm Death or Punch and Stench or anal cunt,
Yeah.
it was a more in your face thing. It wasn't like we're going to tell you little stories. It was more to punch you in the face with the stuff. And even when I started Asheron, I wanted it to be not like Venom talking about the things. I wanted to be a real deal with the whole satanic thing. And a lot of bands at that time, well, not a lot, but there was bands there that were doing the same thing that wanted to get certain things out there that they were sincere about. Um, could you tell the bands that were sincere compared to like the days of past when they were kind of using not necessarily a gimmick, but more as just themes?
Yeah, it's interesting too because once, kind of like I alluded to earlier about how hearing Sepultura and then like, oh, I like these kind of vocals, and then once I started hearing real death metal, and this was '91 when I started really getting into that, and at first I was like, these vocals. It took me a little bit to get used to it, but I was like, this sounds weird, but I like it because it sounds fucking scary and aggressive. And then it didn't take long before I knew it. I was buying everything that Road Racer was releasing, everything Earache and Nuclear Blast early on. And then I discovered stuff like Relapse and Seraphic Decay and Wild Rags, and it was just kind of a snowball effect. And then the heavier shit the heavier shit, the better. And then I kind of at that point became one of those nerds like fuck Slayer and all that shit. I want to listen to nothing but fucking brutal stuff. And as far as feeling authentic, like for example, the '80s band Impaler, not the death metal one, but the horror band Impaler.
What guy with
Yeah,
the blood, the tongue?
yeah.
Yeah,
You see,
yeah.
back, I like them now, but back then I thought that looked goofy as shit, and I wanted like serious crap. And I remember that when I saw the first Cannibal Corpse Eaten Back to Life when it came out. I saw the cover, the Vincent Locke art, and I thought it looked kind of goofy, so I just didn't even buy it. I said, this looks like some retarded ass shit like Impaler. And then a friend of
Right.
mine bought it, and I listened to it. I was like, oh, okay,
Mm.
this is the real deal shit. It seems serious. And then Butchered at Birth, and then Deicide especially seems serious. With that being said, like Deicide seemed very serious, and even Asher on that Rites of the Black Mass, when I bought that, it had a very serious tone. I didn't find anything like goofy or campy about it. It seemed very serious, with the little sections between the songs, the artwork on the cover. It just had that serious aesthetic, and that's what I know I wanted back then.
Yeah, because we had talked before about bands in the past were a lot of them had frontmen or people in the band that were the spokesman or like kind of the face of the band. Um, you know, Glenn was the face of
Yeah,
Deicide, Nasty Ronnie and Nasty Savage,
yeah.
Billy Milano and SOD and MOD. Um, do you think bands today lack that?
That is a really good question because you're right. I really didn't think about that, but you're right. In the old days, there would be a front man or a certain face, a certain charismatic person. And even like with hardcore too, you have the front men, Rollins and Black Flag, Roger Merritt from Agnostic Front and Negative Approach. They had that just in your face, and
Yep.
they were a front person. And now that you mentioned that, a lot of these newer bands I like, but they don't have a clear spokesperson, so to speak. You know,
I think that's because before you would promote your band in the zines or in the magazines and stuff like that, you would get interviews, and that's still there, but that's not really a big factor anymore for a lot of fans. A lot of fans, they'll go to their favorite place to download some music, and they'll just see a name, hear a sample, like the stuff, and boom, they got their new album, but they don't really know the whole background unless you really research it, like on Metal Archives or something like that.
yeah,
Um, that's one thing I miss. Like even going all the way back to Alice Cooper and Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne, um, all the way to Euronymous and Varg. Uh, there's always been like personalities up to a certain point where you kind of like, okay, that's what we're talking about now. This is what they're about. You can put your description and a band bio, but that's my problem with getting into a lot of newer bands because there is a lot of good talent out there.
Yeah.
And it's just, I usually get them into them more if I see them live and I really and see what they're doing and then maybe meet somebody. And that's how I kind of get into a lot of bands if I'm really getting into them. Um, as for your band, I saw the interaction with you. I saw you describing your music. I saw your videos. That's what got me into checking you out and obviously getting to like the band.
Yeah.
Um, I really think we're missing that a lot because even in the ones that are still going today, a lot of them are older bands that
Yeah.
are still carrying on with the frontmen and stuff like that. But I just wish the newer bands would come out with, we'll get into the real stuff, the in your face Gigi Allens and the
Yeah.
El Duce from the Mentors and Peter Steele when he was in Carnivore, stuff like
Yeah.
that just resonated to people to see what the hell they were about.
Well, people are trying to be too safe these days, and I don't know that's another thing why I kind of like I used to really like grindcore and punk rock, but it got to be where it's so political and just too political for me. I don't. I mean, I'll listen to all kinds of music. I don't care what the ideology is. If it's good, I'll listen to it. But when it's getting to be too much preachy lyrics, I'm just like, like it's the same thing. Like if you listen to a strong left wing band, like Napalm Death, they have left wing lyrics, and some stuff I agree with, and some I don't. But I feel that their lyrics are written well, where it's not just total preaching to you, and I'm good with that. And then same thing on the other side. You listen to a right wing band or an NSBM band or some crap like that. If it's written well and you read between the lines, it's cool stuff. But if it's just totally just fuck this and fuck that. I mean, I'll listen to some of that too, but I just don't want to be preached to, you know.
I agree. I mean, one thing I think about, at least with punk, it used to question authority. It used to question the government. It used to question, it didn't
Yeah.
stand next to the government or, you know, it was very open to discussion about things where now it seems to be there's agendas and there's political stances being pushed and stuff like that, which to me is nothing about punk. And I'm kind of like you, I like dark music. I love aggressive music. And if someone, especially like it's anger, I love hearing that stuff. I don't care what side of the coin you're on. I don't
Yeah.
care even if the music, there's music that I would probably never listen to any other stuff that I've maybe come across and go, well, that person's pissed off. That's interesting. It's like, I'm not into hip hop or rap at all, but I thought it was like refreshing to take like some of that mainstream rap and NWA comes out with fuck the police and shit like that. I mean, I thought that was entertaining.
Yeah.
It's you don't have to take a stance and promote or agree with the artist. You can enjoy the music or what they're doing. Too many people want their artist to be them, and that's I think the problem is these days.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you can't agree with everything that somebody does. That's whether it's ideology or just whatever. I mean, there's a lot of bands I really like that I like. I agree with some of their stuff, and then I don't like Napalm Death, Disrupt, Agothically. These are very crusty left wing bands, and their total anti-establishment lyrics and against mind control. I like that, but there's some other stuff that's more hippie kind of shit that I'm not into. But whatever, I still like the bands. Same thing on the other side. You have conservative bands or right wing, whatever. It's just listen to it and take what you want out of it. Nothing's going to make me go do one thing or the other. And also, too, this is kind of interesting, too. Like Christian metal, there's some Christian bands I like. Like I really like Believer. And it's probably about a year ago or so, I watched a documentary about Christian black metal bands, which seems very strange to me. But some of those
Right.
bands were pretty good on there. And in the interviews with the guys on there, they seemed pretty level headed where they weren't just preaching.
Mhm.
I have no problem with that. I mean, just don't shove your shit down my throat.
Yeah, I mean, even like I've had people say, because like the band Trouble. I love
Yeah,
Trouble. I mean, I think they have some of the killerest, dark, doomy riffs ever. And they're not necessarily, I don't know if they're necessarily Christian, but they got that kind of like Black Sabbathy, little bit preachy thing there. But I can overlook that for the music. And, and in Asheron, we had some people that were Christians that were fans. And people go, how they do that? You sing stuff about, all this anti-Christian stuff or, purification day against the Christians. And it's like what you write in music doesn't necessarily mean you do it in real life, as in, I write a song about eliminating all the Christians or something. That's my anger for all the shit I've dealt with through organized Christian groups. I
right,
know Christians. I don't have problems with people's beliefs, but I have problems with people. My idea as a Christian is someone that is a part of a group that's forcing their views on you and hold you as an enemy, and that makes you my enemy.
right.
So if people look past that, I have I have no problem. But I think the problem with the Christian bands is I wish they would just come out and say like fuck the Satanists because at least it'd be anger. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's just one of those things, and I like to hear the anger. But my point is, like, the people I like to be around is people that are not just stuck up on one agenda. Like, for example,
Right.
if somebody that loves Satanic War Master and all this shit, and they hear that I listen to some Christian bands, oh fuck that guy. If you're like that, I don't want to be around you. You know,
Right.
if I listen to a left wing band, oh fuck that guy, he's a commie. No, I'm not a fucking communist. But some of the bands I like that, or NSBM, oh that guy's a Nazi. No, I'm not. I don't believe in any of that shit. I'm not political. I fucking hate it all. But if it's good music, it's good music. And I don't want anybody sitting there telling me what I can and can't listen to and try to persecute me for some shit like that. It's fucking stupid.
Well, I always think it's funny where people like try to label a misanthrope. It's like we don't give a fuck about anybody. It's like,
Right.
uh I always say, people that are my friends, I hold them above the human race because it's like I'm not that guy that likes to mingle. I'm not that kind of guy that wants to go to parties. I'm not that kind of guy. Even to do stuff, someone has to lure me there somehow. You know what I mean? It's not a matter of me. I'm just not very sociable, but
Right.
I hold a lot of value with the people I do connect with. And these people are like, you're this way because you listen to this or you read this. It's like, fuck you. I have my own world. I don't expect everybody to live in it. You live in your world, that's fine. But my problem is the people throwing the stones and trying to censor people like us that want to do our stuff, go against the grain, not necessarily be politically correct, and do something interesting, you know, to stir up the pot.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely not political, but for me, my whole thing is with our band, it's just hatred of just mainstream, and it has nothing to do with wanting to go out and fuck people up. I mean, I don't wish any violence on. I mean, unless somebody starts some shit, yeah, they're going to get some violence on them. But just attacking, no, it's just an outlet to your aggravation, and I just hate what the mainstream has become. It's just pure garbage. The music, the media, the movies you watch, fuck all that crap.
It would
I'm sorry, go on.
to kind of bring up what you just said. It's funny because if you look at the media, if you look at the people kind of representing the scene, and especially in the United States, you would think everybody's a racist or a homophobic and
Yeah,
this and that. And I personally, I've been to many shows. I haven't in a long time seen any of that shit at shows. I've seen a lot of different types of people coming. I see a lot of people like supporting each other. Um, I think it's just all propaganda because it's funny, like these groups like Antifa that, you know, protest the shows and call every other band a Nazi. Um, I remember in the mid 80s when the punk bands and the metal bands played, um, where the real skinhead Nazis were coming to the show,
Yeah.
and they don't like back then they didn't like anybody with long hair or anything like that, and they were there to start shit. And you know what? That's exactly what they do. So
Yeah.
it's just a whole different package this time, but it's the same thing.
Well, yeah, I think in general with humanity, there's going to be people hating people no matter what, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
racial, uh, religion, their, but
Politics. It's
yeah, follow, you know, everything. There's always a reason. But the thing is, you're right. A lot of this media blows this shit out of proportion because in my everyday life, I don't have problems with people that have different political or religious issues or people of other races. I don't ever have any of these issues. So that's why, of course, I'm just speaking for myself. But for me, I don't have any problems with anybody, and nobody's being an asshole to me for shit like that. And that's what I hate about the media. They're just all about separating people and creating fear. It's just sickening. And that's where most of the lyrics in our shit we do comes from, that kind of stuff like that.
Yep. Well, I think this is the perfect one. Hatred
Oh,
for
yeah.
humanity.
Hatred. I mean, the lyrics for that are just exactly that. It's not political or racial or any of that stupid shit. It's just fuck this whole society because it doesn't. And also, when it comes to politics, too, I get so tired of it because it's people power hungry and people that are just it's just stupid shit. All these wars and stuff. It's over just like the schoolyard. Somebody's insecure about something and they want to fight over some dumb shit. And I don't know. People probably think, oh, this guy don't know what he's fucking talking about. Well, that's how I feel about it. I get sick of all this shit and people's agendas and politicians. It's all a bunch of fucking lies and just.
Yeah.
It sounds cliche, but it's propaganda.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is because, like you said, you know, human beings are the most vicious creatures on this planet, and they're the
Yeah,
most fucked up creatures on this planet. And if you put even two people in a room, they're going to find something wrong with that other person. I don't give a
yeah,
shit what it is, whether you eat meat or you don't eat meat, or if
yeah,
you like this TV show, or it's people just don't naturally get along. And, you know, I think the media and stuff magnifies that stuff. Is there racism? Absolutely. I'm sure there
yeah,
is, you know, but it's not like some major percentage, and it's not like you see it every day. Maybe some people do in certain areas. You know, I've lived in all kinds of places and I really never saw it out of control or like all over the place. Are there people that are homophobic? Yeah, but how many? You know, it's like, you know, I think they just expand that, and then they try to make everything like, oh, this world's already shit. We don't need to make it feel like it's even worse than it is. And I
yeah,
think that especially in the metal scene, that most people get along. Most people don't give a shit what you are, what you do, and stuff, as long as you respect others. You know, if I have a belief in this and you don't, okay, cool. Fucking, I'm
yeah.
not gonna preach my shit to you and say you're wrong. But unfortunately, today everybody has to plant their flag and fucking declare war on anybody who doesn't believe it. And I think that's what's destroying the scene right now.
I agree. And well, that's what I like about I go to metal shows these days. It's very rare you see a fight. I know in the late 80s and 90s, man, there was fucking brawls at huge fights at shows. And even my dumbass was fighting in pit and shit. But nowadays it's not like that. You see a pit, people help each other up, and there's a real sense of camaraderie. You know, I go to shows. Most of the time I'm pretty antisocial, but still, you just see. I don't feel like some shit's about to break out every 5 minutes, and I don't want that kind of crap. You know, it's just it's funny. One of the first shows I went to as a kid, I remember not big concerts, but like an actual club show with death metal and stuff. I saw a huge fight in the pit. People fought all the way outside, and they were throwing bottles at each other. And I was like 16 years old seeing this shit. And I'm just glad that shit doesn't happen anymore for the most part.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, I remember going to shows, and it's funny too because a lot of metal shows happened at bars or clubs that you'd have your regular patrons come in that weren't into metal, but
Yeah.
you could do a show, and there was always some kind of fight, always some kind of problem, or if you mixed up, some types of bands. There was fans of all that stuff, but there's always those people coming in because they want to start some shit or whatever.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen a fight at a show in a long time. So
Right.
you're absolutely correct about that. I mean, things have definitely changed on that front.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because if you go to a real black metal, death metal show, not some big bullshit, but a real show, everybody there, you can tell they're into the music. They're got the shirts on, whatever. You can tell they're into it. In the late 80s and 90s, you would see people that are into it, but also you see some fucking hillbilly or some guy you could tell was totally not into it, like their friends, hey, come here, man, you get that pit and fuck people up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll go to that shit. And then you see people going crazy in the pit and like purposely trying to hurt people, and then they get their ass kicked.
Yeah.
I don't really see that anymore, and I'm glad.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think if people actually sat back and really analyzed what's really happening, they'd realize it to being taken for a ride, and they should just enjoy the fucking music instead of sitting back and always complain about this, that, and the other thing, which usually isn't even there.
Yeah.
So, but on to the scene, seeing all the craziness that's, happened, all the political correctness. And, this started back a long time ago, and it just gradually got worse and got worse because, I'm big time into comedy. I love old school comedians,
Yeah.
Andrew Dice Clay, Richard Pryor, all those people that kind of went against the grain. Dave Chappelle nowadays, he's like almost like the rebel nowadays because I don't know if you remember when Andrew Dice Clay was apologizing on a show and that was the downfall of everything. And, comedy took a big change, and, slowly it became, can't talk about this, you can't make fun of this. And it just got so fucking ridiculous. And in reality, music followed suit. It's like, well, we can't write about this and we can't say this because this might offend somebody. Do you think we have gone too far and that the next generation is just likely to put a grave site on the scene? Or do you think there's redemption out there, that there are kids out there, which I know there are because I've been in correspondence with people who write me who still have the old school flag and want to bring back, rebellion to the music?
Well, I think so. It's almost become where, like in the 80s, and it was a punk rock thing, it was very anti-government, against conservative government. And it's almost like it's things have flipped to be rebellious. It's to be against this current politically correct bullshit. And again, it's people of all walks that are tired of this shit.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just people that are conservative or they're Nazis. It has nothing to do with that shit. All kinds of people are just tired of it. Friends of mine that are all races, that they don't believe in that shit either. They're tired of the crap. Yeah, and I think that you're seeing a lot of this where people are kind of flipping the switch. I don't know. The underground's always going to be there, though, and you're going to have these people fucking crying about shit. You're going to have people that are really into it that don't give a fuck, and that's just
Right.
how it is.
Yeah. I and I think that because I've mentioned before that, the scene in general, when you have like a scene, it used to be you kind of united in metal. I didn't care if you liked heavy metal. I didn't care if you like thrash metal. I don't care if you like speed metal, death metal, black metal, you know, whatever. I had no fucking problem. And a lot of people thought the same way. Now it's like there's there's this whole thing with division. So there really isn't a metal scene anymore when it comes to like that metal unity that people always talk about there. Um, Usually the people who talk about that are the mainstream metal promoters on the bigger channels or the magazines and act
Yeah,
like. And I too, like you, I think the underground will always be there, and I think those bands will only get to a certain level because of that. But I think that is good because you know once a band blows up and becomes submissive to the rules of the music industry, you you lose all your balls. I mean, it's very few bands continue with the same momentum after they've like achieved a lot of success and like everybody opening their arms to them. So I
yeah,
guess we have to be the rebels and stay like you know the black sheep of the bunch, which I am totally fine with.
yeah. That rebellious, edgy music, and that's also why I feel black metal became so huge in the early '90s because it had a sense of danger to it. These motherfuckers were all killing themselves and killing people, and people like, oh, I want to fight because even me before I heard about all that shit, I was listening to Bathory, Beherit, and Blasphemy, that kind of shit, which that's black metal. But then I started hearing about this Norwegian shit, and then started hearing more about the violence and church burnings. I wanted to find out too because it just was something new and edgy, and people gravitated to it.
It's funny when you talk about I remember hearing Mayhem before all the Euronymous spewing. I actually used to write to that Italian guy who
Oh yeah,
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 he did Slayer magazine back in the day. And so I had heard about it before all the anti Scott Burns, anti LaVey,
yeah,
anti all this other stuff. And I thought it was good. When it really took off and they started to kind of attack death metal, you know, I was not really interested in hearing that because I was like, I don't want to deal with, a bunch of shit talkers and stuff like that. And I admittedly limited myself to checking out the music. I was into like, Impaled Nazarene and Vital
oh
Remains
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff like that. And I knew, these were legit bands and they were still, they want to call true. Um, Years later, when all that stuff faded and the buzz was gone, I started to listen to some of the stuff and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed like Emperor and I really liked, you know, bands like Marty I liked beforehand because, they weren't
yeah.
really all caught up. But, Burzum, I don't particularly think Varg is the greatest person, but I like a lot of his music and I don't
Right.
have a problem with that. And he probably hates my guts. You know what I mean? It's like there is good music out there, and um, I think like everything, commercialism killed it to a point of the sincerity of it, and I think Euronymous did it personally because that was a angle to get attention. And I don't
Yeah.
care what people say. He had an angle. He got his, and I think bands like Burzum took that to the next level. Was like, no, this is what it's really about, and fuck everything else. And other bands followed suit. Um, that I don't know. It was just weird back in the day that that separated the groups, the bands of that nature, the death metal bands and the black metal bands. But I can honestly say, even being in the death metal genre, uh, I at least admired the aesthetics and the imagery they did, and
Yeah.
they were absolutely correct. The death metal was getting not the music necessarily, but the sound was getting kind of too similar. Things were being kind of unoriginal. Artwork was kind of the same, typical stuff all the time. So we needed that. And looking back there, I understand exactly why that scene came about.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because prior to that, I was listening to the Harrod and shit like that, which is noisy and sloppy as fuck. And then when Dark Throne, they had their Soulside Journey death metal album, which I really liked. And then the next one came out, it was total just raw black metal. At first, I said, "Man, this sounds like fucking shit." I didn't like it at first, but then I had to digest it a little bit, and then I finally got into it. But then, like you said about the whole Norwegian backlash against death metal, and back then, my thought was, I like black metal, but they're talking shit about shit like Deicide, Malevolent Creation. At the time, I thought, man, this fucking shit is way heavier than any of that black metal shit. I mean, of course, I came around. I like them both equally. It just has a different feel. When I listen to Malevolent Creation, it gives me a different feeling than when I listen to Vlad Tepes or whatever. It's just a different feeling. I like them all, though.
Yeah, I mean, it would, and you think about it, the media played those bands because that Kerrang ish, that infamous Kerrang
Yeah.
issue. Um, I had got a call from one of the writers, and they said, Ashron and Impaled Nazarene, and I think who else was there? There's another band that got mentioned as like one of the most hated bands in the circle because you're linked to the LaVey stuff and da da da. And I didn't even have any knowledge of that or whatever. And they made this big thing about that. And my thing was like, was this gonna be like wrestling? It's like, I'll play Norway. Come to the fucking bus and we'll fucking see who's a fucking, it's got that ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
if they wanted some shit, bring it on. But it was the media antagonizing because I've met, friends with a lot of people from that area, and they're like, yeah, they didn't like, there were definitely people that didn't like you, but it was like a handful that were super against you for the LaVey stuff or the death metal stuff. And there was others that were fans of the stuff. So the media's twisted it for all these years. They always try to start shit within scenes and stuff.
Yeah, it's about just finding some little thing and twisting it and trying to get people riled up and some controversy. People just like that controversy. That's what it is. But I don't know. Again, that just seems idiotic. Oh, that guy has got Anton LaVey on there. Fuck that. Or that guy has whatever. I don't care. I
Yeah.
don't care. If it's good music, it's good music. There's Acheron or Vital Remains. It's all good to me. All
Yeah.
good.
That's why I think the older you get, I that's why I have some hope for some of the new people because it's like the older you get a little bit more open minded. I understand when you first get into music, it's a something really close to your heart, and it's like you always want to, especially if you're in a band, you just want to fucking say everything
Yeah.
that's in your guts, and you don't think about anything. You just spew it out and stuff, and that's why they're so aggressive in what they're doing. But eventually, I'm hoping they open their eyes and see, for this to continue, we have to have like different types of bands and we have to have like people that think differently because it would be fucking boring as fuck if everybody
Yeah.
just did the same goddamn thing. And, when I quit doing Asheron, people are like, why'd you quit? Is there a reason? Did you turn to a Christian or did you sell out or what? It's like, no, it's like, I'm still the same person. It's just, I wanted to do something else. And I thought the whole satanic thing is being done. And it's being done by new bands and still some older bands hey, let them do it. I did it for 30 years. I'm
Yeah.
on to doing something else and doing some other projects, and I'm good with that. And you do it right, you do it right, and that's cool. And I hope someone takes the baton and keeps running with all these different like killer topics and bands and styles, and make sure that metal continues.
I think so. Cause I mean, it's people change when they get older. Like for me, when I was a kid, I liked punk, but even before that, I liked glam metal and shit like that. Faster Pussycat, whatever. And then once I started getting into death metal, I said, man, fuck that pussy shit. I'm not listening to that crap. I'm not listening to Alice Cooper anymore. But as I got
Right.
older, I went full circle. Like, you know what? I did like that stuff, and I getting back into it. So it's just you're younger, you want the most aggressive shit. And then at one point, I even thought, yeah, Sepultura, that's fucking pussy shit. I want to hear something more extreme. I want to hear grindcore, underground 7 inches, and you just. And I can think about, even I can remember being in high school and people would talk about King Diamond. I'd think, no, that's fucking pussy shit. I remember saying that just because I was getting into more death metal stuff, but it goes full circle because I love Merciful Fate and King Diamond and all that shit. It's just at the time I was just progressing to heavier and heavier stuff and more extreme. And I think with this scene, people, if they stick with it, will eventually realize all this posing and talking shit, it's waste of time.
Yeah. Well, from that topic, um, one thing I noticed, like when we first met, it's almost like a spider web how you get connected on these YouTube things. I
Yeah,
honestly, I never thought I'd still be doing this. I thought I'd start answering a few questions on instead of doing a bunch of emails that I hate to do all the time, get a little bit
yeah,
more personal. So like I told you before, I get up early now. So get my coffee or get my monster and try to get on the video and answer the questions. Uh, how many other YouTube channels have you met? I know you're familiar with, Eddie in the Realms of Metal, and you got
yeah.
Barry from that Goat Metal show. Um, have you noticed more of a camaraderie of individuals you're starting to meet now? You're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been really cool. There's a handful of them that I watch regularly. Yours, Realms of Metal, Barry, who the fuck else? Oath to the Goat. Have you watched his? It's called Oath to the Goat. He used to be. You probably have this guy. He hasn't been posting anything here recently, but it's his channel is pretty fucking comical. And one video he shot of him just sitting there playing music, eating chicken wings, and that was the whole video. It was just absurd shit. But he used to be in the old Texas black metal band Ceremony years ago, which I know you know them. Nuclear
Yeah,
War now
yeah,
re-released all their shit.
yeah, yeah. I know. I definitely have checked that channel out. Now you said
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
it's very comical.
yeah. And it's
But yeah,
funny.
they're
I I told J Dog recently. I was like, I don't know how anybody puts out a fucking video every day. It's like I think he's several ahead of himself, so he's able to not miss. I'm like, you're like the Today Show of metal now. It's like every morning I get up, that's like waking up. He's on the channel, so it's like watch him, and he's and it's funny too because he just hits play, records, and boom, he's out, and it's like he's getting such a great response.
yeah, it is. It's one of those things. I watch it every morning too. Having my coffee, my breakfast, and play it. It's just kind of like clockwork because it's always there and it's perfect. Just like 25 to 30 minutes
Mm-hmm.
works well. And he has a really good shtick as far as how he can record those because it's just answering questions. It's
Yeah.
a matter of read all questions and answer them. For me, all the shit that I do, I usually have to do a little bit of preparation for it. And I don't know. The last two videos I did, I didn't put as much animations and shit on there because it takes a lot of time. But also, too, most of the stuff, I mean, like J Dog shit, I watch in the morning. I just sit there and watch it. But most of the time, I just listen to it. Like the most recent video you put up, your questions. I just listen to it at the gym. I just had on my earphones and just listen to it. And a lot of Eddie's from Realms of Metal. There's MOD and some other shit. I just listen. Most of the time, I listen to it in the car and don't even watch it. So I've been trying to, try to get videos out faster without having to put all this extra shit on there. But we'll see what happens. I know a lot of people like that extra crap on there.
I think you do. I think you do a really good job at that, and then like the different topics. Like one thing I thought was great is you did a Jail America episode, and
Oh yeah,
I was like, wow, that brought back memories. And then Martin Van Drunen you just did,
yeah,
that was killer too. You do beyond, which I kind of started to do with the Q and A's because it started just be band questions and it started to morph into other stuff. So I totally feel you how you kind of want to talk about other stuff and get other things out there. But I think you do a really good job, and I think you put together the video is killer and it's entertaining for sure. And that fucking puppet fucking kills me every time you fucking put it on.
that fucking thing, man. It's something else. And then I don't know if you saw that somebody sent this shit in the fucking mail. What happened?
The punching bag, yeah.
This shit came in the mail. I'm like, what the fuck? And then it's this.
That's great, man. Because it's like I said, one thing about your channel is you are entertaining, and that's what fucking I miss about a lot of bands. Um, Talking about Nasty Savage and stuff. I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
back in the day, Nasty Ronnie and Billy Milano supposedly had this big rift, and they were talking shit about each other, and it kind of went away after a while. And I know some of the guys in Nasty Savage, and I was like going, whatever happened to that? And they were like, Ronnie and Billy are friends. They just did the wrestling angle and wanted to fucking stir up some shit. I thought that was so hilarious because everybody fell for it.
well, it worked. It works good. I mean, it's like adding some kind of wrestling feel to it. People like to see that shit talking, and that's kind of how I approach this. Is just yelling. Because honestly, like this YouTube channel, it wasn't meant like, okay, I'm gonna create a channel and start talking. Originally, it was just gonna be about the band. So let's just make a band YouTube channel. But I was thinking, okay, it doesn't matter how good of songs we write. If you just post up a video online, nobody's gonna watch it. It doesn't matter how good you are. You got to have something else to it. So I thought, to start talking about music and shit, put the fucking mask on and do something different. And then through that, then people will discover the band from there. Because again, if we just had this YouTube channel, all it was our music and some music videos, people wouldn't watch it. It just, there's so much other shit out there, they're not going to watch it.
Yeah. Well, it's good too. You have a crew of maniacs to work with too, and it's always entertaining when you have the guests come on and your crazy live stuff or parties and stuff. Yeah, that's definitely keeps you interested in checking out what the hell's going to happen next. So
Yeah, you got to do something different. And every channel has its own unique feel to it. Like Eddie from Realms of Metal, I keep calling him the fucking Casey Kasem of death metal because he's just such a calming voice. And I even did it on that Van Drunen video. It was, hi, this is Eddie. Welcome to Realms of Metal here in my happy place. It's just so welcoming. And then like on your channel, it's pretty straightforward, but on your channel, you don't need a bunch of shit because people asking you questions, you already have a years and years of stories to tell. And there's just a lot of interesting stuff people can ask you. So I find it interesting, the last one you did, or even you did that video a few months back when you played at Massachusetts show, kind of give a little show report of what you did. It's interesting. It's cool stuff, hear background and stuff like that. And plus from somebody that's been in I would call a legendary band Asheron is, it's people want to know about stuff like that.
At first I didn't like it because I don't know how about you, but my wife kind of like kept telling me I should do this. And I go, I cannot see me standing in front of a fucking camera talking to myself. And I said, I'm not used to, I'm used to getting interviewed or just, it's just wasn't my thing. If you look at the early ones, I definitely, you can see the uncomfort. It was just kind of weird, but you eventually get into the groove of everything. And now I actually enjoy doing it because now not only do I answer questions, I kind of can reminisce of old stuff that happened. And instead of telling just my friends, I can tell the fans that stuff too. So I enjoy doing it now. So I'm glad I continue to do it. And that's why I kind of am admiring more channels that do their own thing. Um, with your channel, does your band, do they ever not like what you put on it, or do they like get a kick out of it, or
Oh, they get a kick out of it. They're just as fucking nutty and acting stupid and shit. So yeah, it just goes hand in hand. And a lot of times, just we have band practice, which we're just sitting there playing songs and then talking shit between and talking about old days because everybody in the band I've known for 20 some odd years or more. So we've all been going to shows and stuff. So it's a lot of reminiscing and stuff. And then I just kind of take some of that and use it in some of the stories and what we talked about on the YouTube channel. I've tried to get them, like their bass player, I tried to do an interview with him one time and he was just so disinterested in talking shit, but it works better when we do like a live stream or something and they're all kind of drinking.
yeah,
They
yeah,
kind of loosen up.
that's good. It's good for you, the band. It's like I get a lot of guitar questions, like for our guitarist, and our one guitarist, Art Taylor, great guy, fucking awesome. But he's like that guy. If he does a video, he'd rather have the hair all be on his face. He'd rather be the guy not talking and stuff like that. So eventually, I have to kind of push him over. But he has a lot of knowledge and stuff like that. But I guess it's like the people like us that kind of have to be the voice of the band and get our
Yeah.
stuff out there, and it works. But yeah, I think what I get from your channel, I dig it, and I think you guys continue kicking ass. And we've been talking a while here. I don't want to keep you all day, but one thing I definitely wanted to promote because people always ask me about like what newer bands do you like, and I hear a lot of them. MORDANT RHED is one band that I like the black metal style. I really like some of those other songs that have that other feel too. It's catchy stuff, but heavy as fuck, hateful, great stuff. I'm gonna show the Hatred of Humanity demo, and it has this killer
Yeah.
folder. It's like killer booklet and stuff. I love the way you market this stuff. And come on, this title, "Fuck This Feeble World." I mean, you gotta love it, man. If that doesn't look like something from fucking ECW, I don't know what else does, man. It's fucking great. But do you have anything to promote? Any like new recordings or shows or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, we are working on a full length right now for Goat Throne Records. It's they're a pretty good label. They put out a lot of shit, and so we're doing a full length with them. We're currently working on that now, and it's kind of funny how that turned out because I've always been known to the label. I didn't know them, but I knew of them. And one day he just emailed me, "Hey, you want to do some shit?" And I was like, "The fuck?" And so I gave my number. We talked for about a fucking 40 minutes on the phone, and I liked what he was offering, and everything was good. So actually, I just talked to him again on the phone yesterday. Seems like a very cool guy. His name is Aaron, Goat Throne Records. So we're gonna do that full length. I know I had verbal conversations with fucking J Dog Homeboy about doing something with them, but as you know, they're backed up, so it would be a year from now. So we had a verbal conversation about it, but nothing in stone, which I would like to do something with them in the future for sure. But for right now, just to get this first full length out, hopefully get it out by this summer, because right now we're writing it and everything. And it's a variety of shit. Some of it's straight black metal. There's some death metal influences, some punk rock mixed in, and that's kind of what it is. It's we never wrote a song like, okay, let's sound like Marduk. No, it's just like start writing a riff and see what beat goes with it, and put a D beat on there, blast beat, whatever, and go from there. But we're just having a good time, man. A bunch of old fuckers making music, and just glad people are liking it. And yeah, I think Goat Throne's going to do CDs and cassettes, and everybody keeps asking me about vinyl. Down the road, I do want to do vinyl, whether we release it ourselves or a label, but just one step at a time, no rush.
Are you guys planning? Do you guys do many shows?
The last time we played a few small ones here and there, but most of the shows we did was before COVID. We used to play in these fucking ragged ass bars and shit, but it's been a while since we've been doing it regularly. And I don't know. I mean, I kind of don't even like playing shows, just having to load all that shit up and everything. But I mean, we'll probably do it. And also, too, our drummer is a fucking weirdo that half the time he's drunk all the time and doesn't want to show up for shit. And so a lot of times we practice, I'll just play the drums and we'll just rehearse that way. So that's another issue. And I don't want to do a autopsy and play drums and sing at the same time. I feel that's fucking boring. I mean, with autopsy it works, but for us, I just don't. Plus, I don't even want to try to play drums and sing.
Yeah, that would be definitely hard, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and doing this. Totally have my support like always, man. And wish your channel and your band definitely all the best. And I'm sure we'll be doing shit in the future again. So
yeah,
absolutely.
You want
to let the crowd out with your famous outro?
Well, usually it's the intro is, here we go, another fucking video. But yeah, man, we could do it again. I know we talked about doing one in the future, but strictly on horror stuff like that, which I think would go pretty well because the horror videos I've done, people have liked them. So I think if we put something together like that, I think we could it would go over pretty well.
Okay, man. Well, I will talk to you soon, man.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot and appreciate it.
Okay. Enjoy the episode, people. Cheers.